Welcome to the Crushing Limits Unleashed podcast, where we fuel your motivation, gain expert insight, and elevate your life. Get ready to unleash your inner beast. Let the gains begin. This is episode 2, and today, me and IFBB Pro Stephanie Santamaria, we're going to discuss the New York Pro, which of course took place last night. So overall, what did you think of the show last night? Obviously, we watched the stream live.
I thought it was a great show. It's good to see the numbers back at the prestigious shows. Great lineup, lots of competition. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, this has been one of the better shows that we've seen. A lot of top tier athletes, really in all divisions. So we got to watch a more competitive show. Definitely one of the biggest ones of the year. Obviously, Nick Walker being the overwhelming favorite. Now, we saw him guest pose last week in Pittsburgh,
Yes.
along with many others. And the criticism was that, the gut was out of control. He was washed out, no tan, really, not a proper tan. Me personally, I really didn't think that was going to be much of an issue. I mean, the guy drove like 5.5 hours to get to Pittsburgh. He had 6 meals down the hatch, probably 2 to 3 gallons of water. So you're really seeing him at the worst part of the day, the end of the day. And I mean, obviously, as bodybuilders ourselves, we know at the end of the day, definitely not our best look.
Right.
So I didn't really think that was going to be an issue for him. And obviously, we saw last night, it wasn't really an issue. He had cleaned up, obviously, and the guest posing is obviously in the past.
Right. Well, and I don't think that he would have done the same protocol leading up into a guest posing versus the New York Pro. He's not doing the same things to get ready for it.
100%. Yeah, when there's a lot of money on the line, sponsorships, all that stuff, the ring, you're not really going to do much for the guest posing when it's a week away.
No. The 1 week out for a show is going to prioritize over guest posing.
Yep, 100%. And one thing that is pretty cool is it was cool to see him, drive, make the sacrifice to show up for Jim Mannion's show.
Yeah.
Even being a week out from a big show for him after the hamstring tear, right?
Oh yeah. Goes to prove that just because you're in prep or you're a week out, life still exists.
Yeah, you still have your obligations, your sponsorships, your commitments. You still got to show up at the end of the day.
Right.
So let's talk about the 1-point decision. Now, it was a 1-point decision after prejudging, and then it came down to that 1-point decision in the finals. So we saw Martin, who just won the Detroit Pro a few weeks ago, and now he really pushed Nick down to the wire, down to 1 point. So how did you see it happening? Did you have Nick winning? Did you have Martin winning? How close was this?
It was a fun comparison, and I thought it was a good comparison between the two kind of similar physiques to compare. Martin, a little smaller than Nick, but great quads, great shapes. His waist is a little smaller, tighter overall. I thought the backs were very comparable. So it's fun to see someone who, because Martin hasn't been to the Olympia yet, correct?
Right. So he just qualified.
It's fun to see someone who's a first-time qualification for the Olympia really challenge a crowd favorite, because Nick Walker has, he's a fan favorite, and for a reason. He's got a lot of muscle. He's got a lot of mass. He's doing something right. But so it was fun to see a newer Olympian. Well, he's not officially an Olympian yet, but a newer person push someone who is one of those top tiered Olympian bodybuilders.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if you go by the placings, I mean, Nick is considered top 3 in the world, maybe 3rd best in the world right now. So you have Martin, who's now qualified for the Olympia, his first time, winning Detroit. pushing Nick, who's maybe the third best bodybuilder in the world, to a 1-point decision.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it leaves a lot of questions for the Olympia, because on paper, Martin clearly seems to be a top 5 guy at the Olympia. That's the big question. So that's going to be exciting, because obviously you have Derek, you have Hadi that are going to be battling for those top 2 spots.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Nick, who has gotten 3rd at the Olympia, but now Martin pushing Nick to a 1-point decision.
Yeah.
So it's going to be intense come Olympia time. Yeah, so it's good to see that level of competition back in New York.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 3rd and 4th place. I really like what Tyler did here, where we got to see the top 2 compared, but we also got to see the 3rd and 4th place compared alone.
Yeah.
So we have Tonio and Stu Sutherland battling for that 3rd and 4th spot. How did you see it go?
This was another one where I thought it was 2 very comparable physiques, and it was kind of really tough to differentiate between the 2. Very, minimal differences. I thought they both looked great.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought I thought it could have gone either way. They were so close to one another.
Yeah, I agree. It was neck and neck. I personally had Stu in 3rd. I felt like he did edge Tonio in the condition, but it was so close, especially when you compared every pose. It was close, like you said, structure, condition, shape. We have seen Tonio better. When we were at the Olympia, of course, we did see Tonio at an all-time best at the Olympia. So he has been better, but still good showings for both those guys.
Absolutely. I think maybe Tonio in the back pose out-edged Stu a bit, but so comparable. I think it could have gone either way for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I agree. Rounding out the 5th spot, we had a guy that not a lot of people are familiar with, Christian Wolski.
Mm-hmm.
So this I feel like he kind of made his mark this time. Unbelievable structure. I mean, the quads just pop from the hip, just unbelievable structure from top to bottom. There were some posing errors that I noticed on the rear shots. But overall, this was a really good showing and a top 5 finish at New York. So this is good for him. Yeah.
It's really fun, like I said, to see the New York Pro back at the prestigious level that it once was. I think it kind of came down a little bit in the past years, but it's back.
Yeah, it's definitely back.
Really fun to see. I thought the other categories, there was a lot of great competition as well. A big class again in figure, which that's personally fun for me to see.
Yeah, very good figure class, big lineup, which was great. We do have, I guess, what I'd consider a dark horse coming into New York. We had Quint Beastwood.
Yeah.
A lot of people were expecting him to either win the show or push Nick, but for sure, a lot of people had him in that top 3 spot. What did you think? Did he live up to the expectations, or did he kind of fall short a little bit?
I think when I first saw him, I was like, oh, he looks great. But then as they started to do really get into it and do comparisons, he has a great structure. I do believe he needs to put more size onto his structure and fill it out fully. I mean, he looked good, but in some poses, the legs just appeared smaller.
Yeah.
And that's due to how he was posing and his height.
Yeah.
So I have no doubts that live and in person, the actual circumference of his legs is big.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just got more of a frame to fill out. And I think there's another year or two, he could be great.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, when we met him at the Olympia, I mean, he's absolutely enormous. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest calves I've ever seen on anyone. So I thought when he when he cuts down, he's going to be a force to reckon with, you know, kind of like an Andrew Jacked.
Yeah.
So, and he has that structure. He's just not at that level that Andrew is, you know, because like you said, I don't know if he over dieted. He certainly was in great condition.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, when you started to see the comparisons, you could see that there was a noticeable size difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, he didn't appear as thick, like you said.
Yeah.
So I would say one last one, an honorable mention would be Angel Calderon. We've seen him compete live many times at the Olympia.
Fan of him.
So the interesting thing, of course, like several guys have done, Sean, of course, Derek, Kamal, they're now entering the Open.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see him step out of the 212, and he probably didn't have to really cut down as much, compete in the Open, and really came in with a nice package overall.
Yeah, I think we've seen him a little bit better, but he looked great.
Yeah, looked really good from all the shots. Back double was outstanding. You know, I'm sure that him and his coach probably tried to come in a little bit fuller, knowing he is in the Open and doesn't have to beat the 212ers. So, but yeah, I feel like maybe if he would have come in his true form, his best condition, he might have placed maybe one spot higher, possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, that is a wrap for today. The New York Pro, we're definitely an exciting show. It's going to be definitely an exciting year because there's only so many more qualifiers when it comes to the Open division. So it's definitely going to be a great rest of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, until next time, guys, you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share it. We appreciate the feedback.